Hello, beautiful people. Welcome back to my channel. Thank you for coming back. If you are new here, what up? Okay, so you just got Atlas. Now what? I know a ton of people just got Atlas from the Atlas rollout. I'm going to try to break down a few things that I think that you should know right off the bat before we dive into like more complicated topics, I guess. I will take as many requests as you want if it's something that you need to know. This will be like a series on the channel, so if I don't get to what you requested right away, it will come later. I'm going to try to post at least one Atlas video a week. It really just depends on my work schedule, though, and how much other videos I have to do and stream and stuff like that. But this will be one of the prioritized little series things that I do. So let's get started. Also, I'm sorry if my voice sounds like I just grew hair on my chest. I just woke up like 4.5 minutes ago, so I'm sorry. The first thing that I can recommend is pay attention to the tutorial. I've had Atlas for so long, I don't really remember all of the specifics of the tutorial, but I do know it gives you a general overview of basic everyday, day-to-day things like how to build troops, how to move your Primarchs, a little bit about the different zones that they have, and I just think it's overall a good thing to pay attention to. Just to get your feet wet and to get your feet in the door, I guess. It does tell you how to attack and stuff like that. So definitely pay attention to the tutorial and don't just like skip through it like a psychopath. The next thing that you're going to want to do is to build troops. They are the main part of the game. You use them for glory. You turn that glory in for sigils. And sigils are kind of like in the main game where you get prizes for turning them in. You can get riders, gear, shards, timers, a lot of stuff to help you progress in the main game. I know this is a lot of things that I'm saying and I'm not breaking down quickly, but I'm going to break everything down a little bit later in the video. So build your troops. Your team is going to need them. Don't ever stop building troops. That's something you need to do all day, every day. Anytime your hats come back and regenerate, build the troops. And the next thing that you're going to want to focus on is unlocking new Primarchs and strengthening those Primarchs by leveling them up. I'm going to talk more in depth about Primarchs in the later part of the video, but they're basically the chess pieces that you use to move around the map. And they all have different like offensive and defensive stats and little abilities and stuff, but we'll talk about that later. So third thing, do your Primarchs. Okay, so they have three different kinds of lands or land pieces in Atlas. You have red zones, safe zones, and then castle areas that are owned by teams or shared by teams. The first one is red zones. Red zones are areas that everyone can be at. They have beasts and gold mines that you can hit. And you can also hit other players in red zones. So don't just sit there thinking that you're safe because you can get hit there. If you have troops on your Primarchs, you're most likely going to get hit, even if you have one troop, because that bothers people apparently. So yeah, red zones, good for glory if you just want to throw out a taunter or a trapper or something out there and get some glory. But you can be hit, you can swap glory in them. So overall, just don't stay there. The next area that we're going to talk about is a safe zone. A safe zone, you'll identify it by the little green handshaking icon that's there. This has gold mine and beast as well, but it also has castles, in quotes, I guess, that you can just sit at. This is a safe zone. No one can hit anyone in the safe zone, so you are safe. A lot of teams that just get Atlas, they just pick one place in the safe zone and put all of their Primarchs there, and this will be kind of like your anchor or your home until you're able to get your first castle. The next area is land owned by teams. I don't have a picture of this because I don't want to put my team's castles in this video, and I don't have coordinates to my old team castles anymore or screenshots. I tried to look back and see, but this is where a lot of teams will be on the same piece of land and own multiple castles. I think the max is like 4 or 5 castles per piece of land. But when you get your first castle, you will probably share the land with another team, and it works like a safe zone. Only if some other team is able to get to your castle land, they can hit you at your castles. So your castles are not 100% safe, but most times, if you're a newer team in Atlas, you're probably not going to get hit that often if you do get a castle, just because you're pretty low glory for everyone. All right, so the next thing we're going to talk about is the gold mine. The gold mine is located on every single piece of land, from red zones to safe zones to player-owned castle lands. And this is what you hit to get gold. And you use that gold to build your troops and level and unlock new Primarchs, and pretty much everything that you need to do, you need a little bit of gold for. And then hats or farmers, depending on what people call it, they're a regenerative currency. And that's what allows you to make the troops. So you need hats and then you need gold in order to build troops every day. So you'll need to hit the gold mine or beasts, which I'll talk about next. You'll need to hit those in order to build your troops. It resets every few hours, and you can build anywhere from 800 to 2,400 troops at a time. So like this person at the bottom, the max that they can build is 1,600, which I think is the new rate. So I think you can build 1,600 at a time if you don't have Atlas Elite. So Atlas Elite just gives you a boost in your shards and your gold that you get from like beasts and stuff. And then it also lets you build more troops per regeneration. Also to note, whenever you are in an Atlas battle and you lose your troops, they go into almost like a catch file. And you can revive them. So it's almost like a little hospital. So you don't lose them completely. You can revive them. Just make sure every level you get a little bit more space in that catch. So make sure you don't go over that revive rate. So if your revive rate is 70k and that's the most that your hospital can hold, if you go over that, those troops are gone. So you have to revive your troops in order to clear that catch and to be able to get those troops back. So if you have 100k troops and your revive catch rate is 70k, and you kill all 100k of your troops without reviving anything, you lost 30k. So make sure you're paying attention to that and you're reviving your troops during the troop train event, which we will talk about a little bit later as well. Okay, so beasts are located on all pieces of land as well. If your team owns a castle, you'll have beasts. If you are in a safe zone, there'll be beasts, and then red zones also have beasts. What beasts are little monsters, basically, and they range in level. The higher the level, the more stuff you get from them. Most times, the beast drops crafting shards that you use to craft gear. You can see the little left slide has the different icons for each shard. So after you defeat the beast, it'll tell you like, oh, you got 700 of this color, and you'll know that you got wind, fire, ice, earth, or dark shards. So the higher level the beast, usually the higher level the land. So you can see at the top, that's a level 17 beast. Those are like mid-tier beasts pretty much. If you own only like level 2 castles, you'll probably only see up to like 10 and 12 level beasts. I don't remember what castle I was on to get that picture, but it was my team owned land. But you can also see in the bottom picture, that is a safe zone, and you can see there's little beasts all over the safe zone too. So don't worry, you'll still be able to get shards and stuff from beasts, even if your team does not own a castle themselves. Other things that typically drop from beasts are crafting scrolls. Those you use with the shards to craft gear for your riders. You probably have done this already. You just didn't get more material for doing it. It has been introduced to non-Atlas teams, so you've probably been doing this already. You just have more access to the shards and crafting scrolls, so you can craft a little bit more gear and hopefully get some elite pieces. The next thing that drops is the red shards. It doesn't drop all the time, so don't worry if you don't get them every time. They're pretty rare on lower level beasts, but this is what you can turn into higher Atlas specific riders and to level them up. So this is what you need for the Atlas riders. We talked a little bit about Primarchs in the beginning. Primarchs are the way that you move around the Atlas world, like a little chess piece. Each Primarch has different attack and HP buffs, or levels, attack and defense levels, and they also all have little abilities that make them unique. So each Primarch has a different advantage over other Primarchs and different uses. So the very first Primarch that you're going to get is a fighter. The fighter is the first Primarch that everyone gets. If you look at the little tree of Primarchs, it's literally the fighter and then it unlocks 4. So it has very, very low stats. It has an even amount of attack and defense, but you only need to level this Primarch up to the level needed to unlock other Primarchs because it's useless after that. You never want to take this thing to an actual Atlas battle because you're not going to kill anything. And if they kill you, they're going to just wipe you. And it's going to be great for them because you don't have any defensive stats to protect you. So level it up. I think it's like level 5 or level 7 that you can unlock new Primarchs after that. So don't level it up really beyond then because there's no point. So the Trapper, or the Rusher as it used to be called, is one of the first Primarchs that I would recommend for beginning players. It has a high amount of defense and very low attack. When you first start out in Atlas, most of your hitting and defending and stuff, you're going to be on the defensive more often than you're going to want to be attacking, especially if you're a lower level, because most of the attack Primarchs in Atlas and a lot of the people in Atlas have had Atlas for so long that their Primarchs are huge in level. So you're going to start at a disadvantage, but don't worry, just grind it out. Get your Primarchs up and you'll be hitting them before you know it. So the Trapper has a very, very high defense, the highest of all the Primarchs, and it has very low attack. So this guy, if you want to hit another Primarch, make sure you're hitting a Primarch with very low defense because you're not going to have enough attack to hit like a high defense Primarch. So never hit another Trapper with your Trapper, basically. They are great for defending castles and just overall being annoying because their ability is to trap another Primarch. And basically what that does is if you trap an enemy Primarch, instead of being able to attack your teammates or attack your allies, they have to attack you first because you're trapping them. So in able to get out of your trap, they either have to wait the cooldown or hit you to break that trap. So you can kind of pick and choose and make people hit you or stall them so that you can hit them. And that is the trap ability. It's very, very annoying, especially when you're in a huge Atlas battle. And my level right now is 490. And a lot of times I get trapped by like level 200s. And then I feel awful because I don't want to hit you. But sometimes I have to. And it happens all the time. The next Primarch is the Sieger. I call it a noodle because in the game it looks like a little spaghetti noodle all wrapped up. This has the highest attack of any of the Primarchs, but the lowest defense. So if you have a Trapper, you can hit Siegers as long as your attack power and their defense power are even, or you have more attack power than their defense. They have very, very low defense, so they're very kind of like glass cannons almost. It is the most vulnerable, it has the least amount of defense, and the ability on the Sieger is to siege a castle. So whenever you own a castle, you will build up your infrastructure, so you'll build up kind of the levels on the castle, and it'll give you a buff. So that means that while you're protecting your castle, your Primarchs will get a little bit more defense power or a little bit more attack power. And what the Sieger does is if you visit that enemy castle and you have a ton of Siegers with troops, it debuffs that boost. So the Siegers help bring like the level and the defense power and stuff down to make it easier for you to take out those Primarchs, because if you have a max Trapper with like a castle buff, it is insanity to hit it. You're just going to lose so much. So it takes away that little bit of buff and gives you a little bit more wiggle room as far as killing your troops. Now, the Taunter has like medium defense, I would say, but pretty low attack. So kind of like the Trapper, the only thing you're going to want to hit is Siegers with this guy. But I would only really recommend the Taunter for the best bases or biggest bases on your team. The Taunter's taunt ability redirects all enemy flights to your Taunter, meaning that if an enemy comes to your castle and wants to hit one of your teammates, they can't hit your teammate until they either hit you to cancel the taunt, or trap you to cancel the taunt. So you can cancel the Taunter by trapping it or by hitting it, and you have to kill a certain amount of troops to cancel that taunt as well. So basically, if 12 enemies come to your castle and they don't have a Trapper and they don't have enough troops to override the taunt, they will be directed to you. So that means 12 people are going to hit you. So that's why I say, only the best bases on your team should be using the Taunter, because everyone will be hitting it and you want to be able to defend and kill something. You don't want to just put your troops out there to be slaughtered. So if you're like a level 150 and stuff and a 400 is going to come to your castle, you're just going to get wiped, and then they're going to be happy that they got easy glory. So I would not recommend a taunter unless you have a really, really good base, a really, really big base for your team. So probably like your top 3 bases I would recommend this for. The destroyer has an even amount of attack and an even amount of defense, and it is very balanced, but it also doesn't have an ability. Now, the destroyer is a great Primarch if you find yourself getting hit back often when you're trying to snipe or when you're in battles and stuff, because unlike a Sieger, you have a decent amount of attack, but you also have a lot of defense to protect yourself. So when they hit you, they're not just going to completely wipe you because your Sieger is a glass cannon. You're going to have a little bit of defense to protect yourself. It's not beneficial to hit a destroyer with like a trapper or a taunter because of the defense power of it. So you're kind of safe from that. Really, the only thing that can hit you is other destroyers or siegers most of the time. So that's why I would recommend a destroyer as a good even Primarch to use. I used a destroyer for a very long time because when I ran my own team, I found myself getting hit most often because I was one of the bigger bases on my team. So anytime I would bring my destroyer to a raid, or my Sieger, I'm sorry, I would get hit and then I would lose all my troops. So I started using the destroyer and it helped me out a ton because I didn't lose as many troops, but the Primarchs that I was hitting weren't completely max level Primarchs. So I was able to get a lot of stuff done and protect my team. If you are in a higher league team though, I would recommend doing the Sieger instead because most higher level teams have insanely high max trappers. And if you hit those max trappers with a destroyer, you're going to lose a lot of troops and not kill very much. So really, you're going to need a max Sieger to cancel out a max trapper, or else you're just not going to do much damage to it. Now, the next thing we have are weekly Atlas events. Kind of like the main game, Atlas has its own events. You can get a lot of crafting shards, a lot of timers and stuff from these events. So I do recommend doing them. They are in a cycle. So you have Primarch leveling, and then you have troop training, and then you have a crafting event. And then instead of going back to Primarch leveling, you have troop training again. So between Primarch and crafting event, there's always a buffer of troop training so that you can get your troops back up, because you'll need to waste a lot of troops basically to get your Primarchs leveled up to be able to level them during the leveling event. So the Primarch leveling event, you earn points for leveling up your Primarchs. I don't believe you earn points for unlocking them. So just keep that in mind if you're trying to plan your event out, that if you have to unlock a Primarch, you should go ahead and do it before the event so that you can get some glory on it. You also earn points for leveling up the Atlas exclusive riders that you have using your red shards. So if you want to save some glory for that, like you get a rider and you get enough glory on it to level it up, you can save it for that leveling event and get a ton of points just for leveling up your rider. The next event is troop training. You earn points for building new troops or reviving the troops in your hospital. So your dead troops go on revive in a little catch, and they can be healed using golden hats, just like other troops. The last event that we have is the crafting event. You earn points for crafting new gear pieces and for leveling up the gear pieces that you currently already have equipped on your dragons. Pretty straightforward, simple event. The only thing I run into issues with is getting the shards to level up my gear. So that can be a pain sometimes, but if you're doing your Atlas events and you're doing your Atlas seasons and stuff, you're going to constantly be getting shards to level up. And now that you have Atlas, I'm sorry, my brain is not here. Now that you have Atlas, you have access to, the Atlas exclusive riders. If you need a good defensive rider, get the 500 blue shards from the Atlas season line and get Crom or Cassima. If you need a really, really good offensive rider, get the blue shards, get Zandra. It has a ton of rage regeneration. There's so many benefits to having Atlas, and as we do more of these videos, I hope that you guys see those benefits and you're enjoying Atlas. I know it's super overwhelming at first to look at Atlas and be like, what do I even do? So hopefully this breakdown will help you, and the future breakdowns that I'm going to do will help you. Like I said, if there's something specific you want to see, please leave it in the comments. I do have kind of a general overview of things that I'm going to cover. So riders and missions and quests, glory, how to get it, different alliances, getting your first castle management, the alliance battles and raids that are going to go on, and just kind of how to defend and like how to defend your castle from attacks, how to, you know, plan team raids or get glory that way. So if there's anything else that you want to see, please let me know so I can break it down for you and add it to my list. Like I said, these won't go like in order. It'll just be what I want to cover and want to talk about that day, I guess. But I'm going to try to post one of these videos a week, help you guys out, and hopefully this made sense and it helped you out a little bit. If not, I'm so sorry. Yeah, if there's anything else you need help with, leave a comment, leave a like if you want. Okay, I'm really bad at these. Bye.